Women Taking the Lead, episode 47.
Go with your gut, listen to your inner voice, and tap into your feminine energy.
Hello, my name is Jody Flynn, and welcome to Women Taking the Lead, where we are all about creating blasts of inspiration to help you overcome self-doubt so you can lead with confidence, integrity, and a sense of humor. This episode is sponsored by Luma Coaching. Want some support to get your dreams off the ground? Go to womentakingthelead.com/coaching to sign up for a consultation with me. Now, your future awaits, so let's get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Renita Alexander, who is passionate about leadership. Convinced that anyone can learn to become a better leader, she founded Leadership Unlocked, a full-service leadership development company, and is a co-founder of Profit Pathway, a global education company for aspiring entrepreneurs and leaders. Okay, Renita, that's only a little intro for everyone. So tell us more about you and your own humble beginnings.
Well, thank you so much, Jody, first of all, for having me. I am so excited to be here talking to women. I'm really passionate about women in leadership. And so, again, thank you for having me on the podcast. And so I have two beginnings, and I'll give you a little bit more about my background before I get to the first beginning. So I am retired from the Air Force, and that's kind of where I learned everything I know about leadership. I mean, I had some leadership experience prior to that, but most of, what I believe around leadership came in the Air Force. And so, but I said I had two beginnings. And the first I think I want to start with is a difficult marriage. Which had me questioning who I was as a person, as a leader. I married a man who was emotionally and physically abusive. And he used to tell me, his favorite thing that he used to say to me was I was a waste of his time, which I guess on some deep level, I believed. Otherwise, I wouldn't have stayed in the marriage as long as I did. I mean, I stayed almost 4 years, and I had a child with this person, of course. And I finally got the courage to leave, primarily because I didn't believe this is who I was, and I didn't want my daughter to be infected by seeing that kind of behavior and by thinking that was an acceptable way to treat women, and that required me to think about who I was as a person and how I was leading myself and how was I presenting myself to the world. And was I presenting myself as a victim or as a leader in charge of myself? I believe that the hardest leadership challenge is leading yourself. And so, I wasn't leading myself in a way that reflected who I was. And so, leaving that situation, being on my own, having primary custody of and responsibility for my daughter, all the things that come along with being a single parent in the military, just it was a challenge, but it also helped me hone my leadership skills and was probably the catalyst for so much of the good things that happened in my life, the, promotions, a great assignment. My last active duty assignment was, if you think of an Air Force base as a small city, I was like the city manager for Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. It's where the B-1s are stationed, B-1 bombers are stationed, one of the places where they are. And so I had responsibility for, the base, the infrastructure, the flight line, the communications infrastructure, the cops, the police, fell under my command. And it was a lot of responsibility and something that I enjoyed, but, something I wouldn't have gotten to without the challenges that I encountered along the way. And then my second beginning was my new life post-retirement. I refer to my Air Force life as my previous life. And of course, you come out of the military and everything is brand new. And so I had my initial job experience was one that wasn't entirely comfortable for me. And I stayed a year in a job, which was about a year too long. And finally, prayer, meditation, reading, crying, just, realize I had to, carve out a space once again in this new life to be authentically me, and who I was authentically. I didn't need to be in corporate America. I wanted to do something around leadership. I recognized that there were a lot of people out in, the world talking about leadership, but that didn't really understand leadership. And I saw a place for me to kind of help with that. That's how I met a guy who had a company called, Real Leaders Lead. And that was something that really resonated with me. And he had gone through IPEC, Jody, which I know you got your certification through IPEC. He had gone through IPEC. He gave me Bruce Snyder's book, Energy Leadership, which just so resonated so deeply within me because I'm such a believer in leadership, and I'm such a believer in the energy that we all bring to whatever it is that we're doing, but particularly the energy the leadership brings. So, every page on the book, I was like, yes, and yes, and yes. And so I ended up taking the first module, still not sure if it was something that I wanted to do. And I went through that and then, I said, this is something that I wanted to do. And so, and the lesson that I got from that is to be fearlessly and authentically me. And so, that is what I would encourage, any woman that's listening to that is just being fearlessly and authentically who you are. And I know that was, I feel like I talked a long time.
That was all great, Renita. You're speaking my language, which I love. But wow, in your story, noticing some trends where you've had to reinvent yourself essentially at different stages in your career, and finally landed on something where you were like, wow, like being fiercely, authentically myself.
Yes.
That's the way I want to go. Yes. And wow, you have had a lot of responsibility, like people trusted you to, be essentially what you said, that the city manager of this Air Force base, which is a lot of responsibility. You were in charge of, big budgets.
Yes. Lots of money.
Yes. So you've clearly, from that time in your life where, in your marriage where you were just not being treated right and putting up with a lot, and probably to some extent feeling like you were losing your identity and who you are, come a long way and had success in your life. You definitely gained confidence. But take us back to a time when you were playing small and you may not have been aware of it at the time. Share with us the story and the lessons you've learned.
Yes. Wow. So this was also in my previous life, my Air Force career. And I remember this so distinctly. I was responsible for briefing a logistics leader. So I was in logistics, which meant I got things and people to where they needed to be. And this person had visited the base. I think he was a colonel. I can't remember the rank, but it was, somebody in the chain of command, somebody outside the base. And I think I was at Pease Air Force Base in New Hampshire, and I briefed him, and I was chosen to brief him, which spoke to my capabilities, and so I briefed him, and after he left, as he was leaving our unit, to go to some other units to get this, similar presentations around the different units, he suggested that I meet him on the flight line after he was, done. And, maybe to talk about my career. I mean, who knows what the, conversation would have been. And I didn't go. And I made up some crazy excuse in my head around why I shouldn't go. But at the end of the day, in retrospect, what I realized is I didn't see myself as important enough or, whatever, to go and have a conversation with this man. And, and it also, I think, is indicative of kind of where I was at that point. And I was so ashamed of myself and so embarrassed for not, taking that opportunity. Here's an opportunity that was presented to me, and I didn't, jump at it. I didn't take it. And of course, I was still married at the time, and so my husband had some choice comments. And I realized relatively quickly after that I was being less than. That the hesitation, the fear was because I was being less than. And my lesson is I'm not meant to live in fear. And that's not who I want to be. I don't want to let fear dictate who I am and how I behave, how I interact, how I present myself to the world. And so that was probably a part of one of the things that kind of started me moving toward in a different direction in my marriage and then also in my career. So.
And Renita, how has this changed, say, your day-to-day life, taking this on that I'm not meant to live in fear?
Oh, just confronting when I am hesitant, confronting the things that I'm hesitant about. I actually wrote a blog about this a couple of weeks ago. And it's ongoing. It's not something that, it's like, I've got this figured out. And so, I don't let fear stop me. I do. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine had lost her father, and she, somebody I grew up with, and I wanted to attend the funeral. And I was like, oh, that's going to be so hard. I've got to arrange my health schedule, blah, 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 blah. And I recognized that I was stopping myself from, showing my friend how important she was, being there to support her at that time of need. And so it's like, stop. You are allowing fear to keep you from doing what you want to do. And so just being, cognizant, recognizing those times when I'm allowing myself to stop me. And and pressing on.
That's huge. So huge. Now, share with us a time in your journey when you had a wake-up call. Take us back to that moment and share with us the steps that you took that led to your success.
Okay. So skip ahead 2 to 3 years from my playing small moment. I'm relatively newly divorced, a single parent. My daughter was not quite 3 at the time, and I was stationed in the United Kingdom, in England, far away from friends and family. I'm the officer in charge of the unit that's responsible for providing fuel to the aircraft. And so right around this time, I'm in England. This is in the 1990s, and Iraq invaded Kuwait, and Desert Storm kicked off. And the lead up to that, to the actual conflict starting, I had, debated sending my daughter to the States because I didn't know if I would have to deploy because I was in Europe and, closer to the theater. I didn't know what role I would have to play. And so I ended up not doing that. And then, of course, January 1991, things start. My whole base was really impacted at first, but as the conflict continued, and even, say in the weeks afterward, and even after things kind of settled down, the base went back to normal, but I was still, my unit was still ramped up. It was still supporting all these aircraft that were transitioning the theater of operations. I was on 12-hour shifts. I was making trips to other bases that I was supporting. I was responsible for a lot. And, and I handled it. I remember having this theme song, I don't know if you were even familiar with this song, the Helen Reddy song, I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. Yes. And it's like, I can do this. And I felt so empowered by that experience. I am strong. I am resourceful. I can handle whatever came my way. Warren Bennis, who is like one of my favorite leadership authors, refers to a crucible experience, and it's that intense, and it's maybe it's traumatic, and it's some experience that you're not expecting that happens, it can transform you. You can step up, or you can come into a fetal position and stay there and stay stuck in that moment. And so I guess the lesson I learned is, to not be afraid of the hard stuff, the things that come into your life that are hard. That was my crucible moment. And it was, the moment when I started to pull it all together, the lessons that I had been learning, taking care of the people so they can take care of the business, understanding how my energy could impact, could negatively, in fact, is what I always say, your energy can negatively impact or positively impact, negatively infect or positively impact the people in your sphere of influence. And so kind of seeing how that worked, and then realizing the power of my personality. So, all of these things that I had, learned, because the military, does a really good job of experiential training. I mean, we get to, learn some things. We go to school and then we get to go put it in practice. So it was my opportunity to put some things in practice. And as a result of that experience, I believe I was selected for the Officer of the Year for my larger unit. I then, when I talked about this a little bit, I went on to, several high-profile, by name request jobs, where I, got in more and more, areas of responsibility, more opportunities to prove myself. But it was that moment there where, I think coming from the experience that I had come from and stepping into this, this traumatic experience and not shying away from it and stepping into it and owning it and taking responsibility, that really changed, I think, the trajectory of my leadership experience and my career.
That is amazing. When you're saying that, I'm thinking of, there are times in our life and in our career where we're not happy because we're working 12-hour shifts, right? Because we're being asked to take on greater responsibility when other people get to go home at a normal hour. And, but often those experiences are blessings. Yes. Because they stretch us in ways we didn't predict. Yes. And we learn how to be more efficient, more organized, and coming out of them, we're capable of so much more. And I remember a friend of mine sharing a story with me where she had gone through a pretty traumatic time in her life with one of her children just needing surgery after surgery. And I remember looking at her and going oh my God, you're amazing. I could never do that. And she looked right back at me and she said, you know what? You can. Yes. Because when you're in the tunnel, the only thing you can do is move forward, and you move forward.
Move toward the light.
Right. And it's really like what she said, now I wouldn't want to go through that experience, but knowing all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other, really just deal with what's in front of you, and really that's taking on responsibility, the ability to respond, just respond to what's in front of you, and you'll be amazed at what you're capable of. And that changed what you thought about yourself as a leader. It changed what other people thought about you as a leader. And, and the nomination to that award really was just a symptom of what was going on. It was just a reflection of the change that had already occurred. So that is really inspiring, Renita.
Thank you.
And what I want everyone to get is there's no one way to lead. Right. We're all different. We're all going to lead differently based on, our preferences, our skills, our innate abilities, and our experience over our lifetime. So, Renita, how would you describe your leadership style?
So, I would say I have more of a coaching style in that I ask a lot of questions. I take a lot of input, and then, as I'm making a decision, if it's mine to make, or if it's, simply I'm making a recommendation, it's usually with a lot of input. In my current team, I am, we kind of lead. There is a leader, but we all have areas of responsibility that we lead. And I'm very much the executioner on my team. So, a lot of the who, what, when, and how questions to make sure that we are executing against the plan that we have envisioned, that we, as we change our minds around things sometimes, because that happens, circumstances change, that we are doing it with an awareness and consciousness of the decisions that we've made before. So I would say very collaborative in the way that women are. And I have studied many leadership styles. I have the ability to be, different as the situation requires it. But very intuitive around what other people are bringing to the table, and an ability to adjust accordingly.
And you mentioned earlier that you're an IPEC graduate. I am as well. So that definitely resonates for me. How do you feel that training has impacted your leadership?
Oh my goodness. I so wish I had that in my previous life. So I think it has allowed me even more to be more authentically me. I always say that my laugh was my secret weapon, because, one of the things that I have, that I learned and continue to learn is that, smiling and laughing, are hard to fake. It's and why would anybody laugh like this? If it wasn't, it wasn't authentic. And so, what I got is that when people feel like you're being your authentic self, they're going to respond, in a way that is real, whether it's something that maybe they don't want to hear, or, if it's positive or negative, because, when you're the leader, you're in charge, you sometimes have to, provide something that's not so positive. I've had to have people come and stand at attention in my office, while, I had discussions around, some behaviors that were against, our, Air Force policy. So, but what I did feel is that people knew, regardless of the experience, that I was coming from an authentic place. And so I think the training that I gained in IPEC has really transformed me into just being more and more my authentic self.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm currently teaching a workshop series helping people who work in office environments to learn coaching skills that they can take back into the workplace. Awesome. And one thing I say to them, I know it's so cool. And one thing I say to them is, when you're coming from a place of pure curiosity and non-judgment, there's nothing you can't say and no question you can't ask.
That's
right.
Good.
Because like you said, that the energy and how you come across is different. Like people pick up judgment, right? They pick up censure and they pick up what's the word I'm looking for? It's not curiosity, but it's like more like just wanting to know the scoop, right? They pick up on
I just want to get all up in your business, right?
Yes. They pick up on that. And so it's really first you have to think about where are you coming from, and coming from that place. And that's what I'm hearing and what you're saying, and has allowed you to work so well with your team and do what you do. For them. All right. And Renita, that's a great segue, because I want to know, what is one thing you're working on right now that you're really excited about?
So Profit Pathway is getting ready to launch a new course, Cultivate Your Power to Lead. And it's the first of about 9 courses that we're going to offer to our audience. It's a foundational course to encourage those aspiring entrepreneurs that we cater to challenge their mindset around their entrepreneurial dreams. So how do you think? What is your belief about yourself, your energy? The faith is a component of what we bring to the table. So that's what we're working on. In fact, I was in a meeting right before this around a webinar where we've created to introduce that. And then I'm doing a lot of writing. In addition to my blog, I'm working on a couple of books. One is about the leadership lessons I learned in the Air Force that are applicable to business. And then I'm also working on a kind of a daily meditation kind of thing. I do this thing that I post, and I actually haven't posted anything in a while, but the Just Breathe, where I encourage people to inhale peace, exhale chaos. To think about the things that we are bringing into and taking out of our bodies just through our breath. And so that's what I'm excited about.
Yay. And if you have any links to any of those programs or books and blogs, send them on to me. I'll have them in the show notes page for you. All right. And now I'm going to do a quick leadership roundup. So Renita, tell us, what is one practice that helps to make you a better leader?
So I'm a student of leadership, and then I'm a student of me. I read a lot about leadership, and then I take time for me. I take time to replenish myself spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. And I just think that makes me a better person and a better leader.
What is one book that you would recommend to a woman to help her develop her leadership?
So anything by John Maxwell, but a book that I refer to often is Primal Leadership, and it's by emotional intelligence guru Daniel Goleman. I'm sure you've probably heard of him.
Yes.
Yeah, along with a couple of co-authors. And the book suggests that the fundamental task of leaders is to prime good feelings in those they lead. And it was very affirming for me because it confirmed what I knew to be true about leadership, that what people want and really need from leaders. And I wish I had read it in my previous life. Emotional intelligence is about, grasping those things that women are really naturally good at. The empathy, the self-awareness, the being able to perceive and understand and managing emotions, their own and others. And so it was just really self-affirming for me, gave me some tools, and I would recommend any leader, but particularly women, read that.
Awesome. And knowing what you know now, if given a chance to go back and do anything differently, what would you change?
I'd get to know some women, find a support group, go with find a support group to help you as you, navigate the decisions that you're making. And then the other thing would be, go with your gut, listen to your inner voice, and tap into your feminine energy. And, as you can imagine, sometimes that was very hard for me in a very the male environment that is the military, but that is what I would give to women. We got some leadership skills. We're naturally collaborative. We are better communicators. And so, tap into that.
Now, share with us a success quote or a mantra and why it has meaning for you.
So one that's on my Leadership Unlocked website, and one that we actually use in Profit Pathway, is everything rises and falls on leadership. And I always give John Maxwell the credit for this, although I've heard other people say it and not attribute it to him. It's something I absolutely believe, because the leader sets the tone, creates the culture, the environment. Everybody looks to the leader for cues.
Awesome. And Renita, lastly, what is the best way for those listening to connect with you?
So they can find me at Renita, Renita, at profitpw.com, or Renita at leadershipunlocked.com. On Facebook, I'm Renita D. Alexander. On Twitter, I'm Leadership Unlocked, LeadershipUnlocked.
And for those listening, don't freak out. Don't get into a car accident. You can find all the links and resources shared in this episode at womentakingthelead.com, or you can use the short link, which is womentl.com. Renita, thank you so much for taking the time to inspire and enlighten us. We're all better for having met you.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining me on Women Taking the Lead. Were you inspired to take some action today, but maybe don't know where to start? Or maybe you have so many great ideas you can't decide where to focus your attention. Don't let stress or overwhelm stop you from having the career, the business, or the life you want to live. Head over to womentakingthelead.com/coaching, or use the short link womentl.com/coaching to sign up for a consultation with me. And to strengthen you on your leadership journey, I'd like to send you off with a quote from Marianne Williamson, so here goes. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Again, thank you for joining me, and here's to your success.